Alright, so hey, this is an instructional video of how to install the Big Bear Chopper's fairing for a diner. So this is what everything looks like unpacked. You got the fairing, you've got the LED headlight, you've got your lower fairings, you've got your brackets here, headlight bucket, main fairing bracket, and over here we have our hardware that's individually marked in plastic bags. It's all stainless steel. These are the tools you're going to need: a ratchet, 1/2 inch extension, a 7/16 combination, 9/16 and a 1/2 inch, as well as a 3/16 Allen wrench. This drill that you're going to need actually comes with the kit, with your hardware kit, and your spacers are in here, which we're going to unpack. We have 5 spacers. 2 are going to go on the lower part of the bracket and 2 on the upper part of the bracket, and this is going to go on the lower part in between the frame rails. So the first thing that we need to do is remove the headlight from the front. So we take a 9/16 and get that off. Before we do that, let's go ahead and we're going to pull the wire out. Come around here and take a look at this. There's a rubber grommet that goes here in the frame, and so we've already taken it out. You just pull it out with your hands till you get to the plug to unplug the headlight, and there's a little clip right there that you depress, and there you go, headlight's unplugged. Now we can go ahead and take the headlight off. Okay, now we've got the headlight off, we can go ahead and start the installation. I'm just going to remove this little screw here that holds the throttle cables, just to get them out of the way, because we want to get in this area right here. Jump in and help me, dude. Grab the 9/16, and we're going to go ahead and remove this the top bolt on the tank. So we need a 1/2 inch combination wrench and a socket. Okay, done. Now the next thing we want to do is we'll go to the other side of the bike. Now we've just removed the plug that goes in there, and this is the handlebar wiring. As you can see, it all just pulls out and you get straight to your plugs. This is for a handlebar. This is the gauge plug. But we want to get that stuff out of there and just get it free and clear. There's a little hole already here that holds, it's just a clip, plastic clip that goes in there to hold part of the evap system. And what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole through this hole, just to enlarge it a little bit, all the way through to the other side. 23/64 is the size of the drill, and we're just going to make sure that we don't hit any of the wires or anything. So we're just going to put our drill there, and then we're going to drill through and through to the other side, and that's it. That's all we need to do. This spacer is essentially going to go inside the frame here. This is so that when we tighten down, we're not crushing the thin parts of the frame here. This is going to go in here like this. Hang on. There we go. And then we want to have this spacer on the bolt, and just to install the spacer inside the frame, we've got a washer on there, and I'm just going to go ahead right now and stick this. Let me just bring this up a little bit. Okay, see this? Now we've got the spacer in there, and our bracket is going to go between the washer and this spacer that we just put on, along with the spacer inside the frame rail here. Okay, So we'll go to the other side. And we'll put this spacer on, right? And our bracket's going to go right here. All right, so now we're ready to put this on. Just going to throw the washer on here. It's going to go against the bracket. We'll put a nut on. So now we're set to go ahead and install the bracket with the top bolt. We have to put it all together in one shot. So if you can see this, we've got our bottom bolt in with all the spacers in the right place. If we were if we would have the headlight wires that are going to the new headlight, I would wire those up right now, and then you can push this plug back in. But just for the purposes of showing you how the bracket goes on, we're just going to put this on right now. Okay, so there we go. You have the... Is it in the bottom?
Yeah, I'm in the bottom.
Okay, you can see here that the way we've made this bracket, that the wires and everything can still come out the side here. So now we're going to go ahead, and I've got to put this spacer between the tank and the bracket. Go ahead and lift it up a little bit. Okay. So I've got the spacer behind there. Now I'm pushing the bolt. You got your spacer up there. So now I've got it started on one side. We're going to put the spacer on the other side. All right. So and then you can see that our bolt has come all the way through and our spacers are on. Just need to add this washer and this nylock nut. Now we can go ahead and tighten the top bolt. We're going to tighten it down a little bit. We're not going to tighten it all the way and make it really tight. And we're going to leave the bottom one, we're just going to do the same thing to where the bracket can still move a little bit. We want it to be like that on purpose. Go. Because we might want to pivot the bracket up or down just a tad. That's good. Let's do the bottom. That's good. Now there's a reason we've used stainless steel hardware. Number one, chrome hardware would gall and create issues. Stainless steel hardware won't rust, whereas chrome hardware will rust, and it's just a lot easier for you as the consumer to work with stainless steel hardware than it would be chrome hardware. Now that we've got the bracket installed, we're going to move on to the next stage, which is to install the upper part of the fairing. So we'll come over here to our hardware, and here's the headlight bucket hardware, headlight bucket fairing. We're going to go ahead and get the nuts and bolts out of here. Again, it's all stainless steel. Put the washers on. So we're going to go ahead and put the hardware, set the hardware up to put the front of the fairing on. We put these small washers here on because these are going to go through the bucket. Okay, like this. Okay, then this goes through the fairing. Then on the back against the fiberglass, we put this washer with a nylock nut. Make sense? Okay, so let's go ahead and throw the hardware in there. All right, see this bottom piece right here? This is actually what holds the outer ring on over the headlight, is with a little screw, and it clips in right here at the very top. I'll show you that in a minute. But let's go ahead and stick this on and get the fiberglass fairing actually up on the bike. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop this into the fairing. Okay, and then we can go ahead and put this up onto the bracket.
Readjust here.
Huh?
Hold that side of the fairing.
Yeah, I got it. Get somebody to help you do this because you don't want to be trying to do this by yourself. So you just go on an angle with that. You want to go around the front there?
Let's just start these.
Yeah. And have somebody give you a hand and hold the fairing up there with hold the heads of the bolts, where somebody can get back behind there and put the washers and nuts on, get them started so the thing doesn't fall off on you. All right. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to just snug these bolts down, but not tight, so we can still move the fairing like this. See how it moves a little bit? We're going to put our bottom bracket onto the fairing to make sure that everything's aligned before we really snug those down. All right, so we can still move our fairing around just a little bit. Just loosen that one up a little bit more. Okay. So then the next thing that we want to do is install this bracket here. Okay, and that's why we've left the fairing loose a little bit, because we want to get this installed. Okay, so here's your hardware kit to install this bracket. It says main lower bracket. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is get the main bolt, put a washer on it, put it through here. We get the other washer and a nylock nut, and we're going to go ahead and grab the two 9/16 wrenches. There's a hole in the frame already that you just utilize, and it's right here, and you just simply go ahead and put the bolt on. Okay, we're going to leave that loose. You want to go ahead and grab the other hardware here. Here you go, Will. And two nuts. And go ahead and put the washers on here. And we're just going to go ahead and put the see, that goes right through the fairing, right? So what we want to do is get this bracket on with the nuts and the bolts in there. Then we want to go ahead and tighten the bracket to the fairing, okay? Then we want to go up top here and then make sure that everything looks level with the fairing, because I mean we can barely move that, right? But we want to make sure that nothing is stressed when we're putting it all together, because otherwise if we stress things and they're not fitting correctly, then it's going to break.
There's no washer on this one.
That's okay. If there's no room for a washer to go because of the weld, then leave the washer off. This is a 1/4-inch steel plate. Doesn't even need a washer. You definitely want a washer on the top though, against the fiberglass. A flat washer, which is going to spread the load. So now that we have our bottom bracket for the fairing tight on the fiberglass, but it's still loose on the frame, and the bolts up here are loose, so everything's in place now. Now we can go ahead and tighten the bolts here and then tighten this lower bolt here, because everything's lined up perfect. As you can see on that main bracket that we bolted to the frame, the holes are actually slotted inside on the front of that main bracket, so the fairing can move from side to side a little bit. Now come around this way, and as you can see, these are the stock handlebars off a Street Bob, a 2013 Street Bob, 14 Street Bob, and you can see that the fairing is centralized between the fairing, the handlebars, and the triple trees, and everything's clearing and everything looks correct. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this up, and on the main bracket, and then we'll tighten the bottom bracket, and then we're going to go ahead and put the lowers on. Alright, now the fairing's on there tight. See how we can still move our fairing up and down a little bit? Alright. We want to leave that like that for a minute until we get the lowers on. When it's just a little bit of movement there, we want that there so that we can adjust to where, so there's no stress on anything. Your fairing is going to come to you with the holes already drilled in the headlight bucket. It's already going to come with the holes here, and all these holes take well nuts. It's already going to come with these holes down in the bottom of the fairing for this lower bracket. They're already going to be drilled. The holes for the lower fairing are all going to be drilled into the fairing right here and right here, ready to bolt in. There's one set of holes that won't be drilled in the fairing, and that is for these two brackets here. This is a bracket that goes on the fairing. It goes on this side of the bike, and it goes right on the top bolt of the fuel tank, right here on the top bolt, and it slips down in between the fairing right here. Actually, we've already drilled the two holes in this one. Actually, we haven't. So this one needs to be drilled, and the way to do that is you take the nut back off up here, and then put this bracket in here, and then we grab a fine point magic marker and just put it through the hole so we can see exactly where those holes are, because they can vary a lot. That's why we can't pre-drill those two holes on this side and two small holes on that side. So now we're going to put the lower fairing on over here. There's two 1-inch bolts which will go here and here, and there's a 3/4 inch bolt that will go here. You open up the glove box, you can see the bolt sticking through here. Put it in from the top. I'll go ahead and put the washer and nylock nut on. You'll notice that the glove box only comes down to here, and it still gives you plenty of room to get inside your glove box, but it stops so it doesn't hit the tank or the badge here, and it worked out really good that way. So we turn our front end, make sure that everything's clearing, which it does. So we can go ahead right now and just tighten up the lower fairing to the top fairing and get that snug. Even though our whole fairing is just a little bit loose, can swing this way, left to right, it can also go up and down a little bit. We want that to be loose so we can put on the bottom mounts, which we're going to do here in a minute. Here's our lower mounts. Now we're going to go ahead and loosen the headlight bucket so that we can move the fairing around a little bit. If you notice, we can move the fairing up and down a little bit. We can also, you can see how I can move it from side to side. If you look down at the bottom here, so we want to get it into the position to where nothing's being stressed. Again, we want everything to be in sync. And if you need to put a washer between the mount, the lower mount, and the fiberglass, and that's what we'll do to make sure that nothing is stressed. As you can see, we're looking for about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch clearance right here between the fairing and the fuel tank. You can see right there. And over here is the same thing. Right, we've got 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch clearance right in here between the fairing and the fuel tank. And again, our glove box comes down and doesn't interfere with the tank. You've got plenty of room to get your hand in here to get your stuff out of there. Okay, so here's the headlight ring. That's the beauty ring that goes over it. This is what actually holds the headlight in. It'll come in your packet. And of course, this clip, which will hold the top of this ring in, and a little screw that goes in the bottom. You've got 3 screws here that will also hold this to the headlight bucket. And we also supply you with this part of the headlight bucket, which is easy installed. But we're not going to put none of this stuff on yet until we've got the fairing tightened down. Then we can go ahead and slip all this together with the headlight itself. So what I am going to show you though is how to install the windshield. The windshield will come with the hardware attached to the back of it. Careful not to scratch the windshield. Leave the cover on the windshield when you install it. Just peel it away from where the holes are, like this. So you're still providing protection for your windshield, but you can go ahead and install it here. So here are the screws and the well nuts that come with the windshield. And this is what we call a well nut. You'll see it's a rubber piece with a brass insert in it. And the way we're going to install this is we're going to put this plastic dilly bob, that's the official word, on the screw, and then we put the screw through the windshield like that. We go ahead and we grab these well nuts and we install those into the fairing. Okay, so you just put that straight into the hole, like that. Then you put your screw with that plastic dilly bob in there, and then you just put that straight into the hole, grab a Phillips head and you tighten it down. And what will happen is that brass insert will crush the rubber, and it'll spread the rubber out, and it actually will hold the whole, it'll anchor it all in there. So the first thing we want to do is put all the rubber grommets, all the rubber well nuts in there, like this. They're a little bit snug, so some of them you're going to push on them a little bit, but they will go in. There we go. Now we're ready to put the whole windshield on. In the hardware kit, you'll also get the headlight cover, well nuts and screws. And we're going to go ahead and push our well nuts in here. Okay. These are tiny little well nuts. They just hold on the front shield for the over the headlight. Okay. We'll wait till we get the headlight in, of course, before we put the outer cover on. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and pop the windshield on. You see how I've peeled this back? Make sure it's peeled off on the inside far enough as well, so you can tear it all off once it's tightened down. So you want to start in the center and then go either side. And work your way out. As you can see, once you start tightening it up, you'll feel the pressure, you'll feel the screw getting tighter and tighter, and you want to just stop. You don't want to keep driving it until you just kill the thing, because it is just a piece of rubber with a nut inside of it, and all it's meant to do is snug up on the windshield, and it won't come loose because the rubber's constantly holding pressure on it, and it's bulged out behind, underneath the fairing, and so you just feel this get tighter and tighter, and then you just stop. And they work really, really well. They never come loose, and it's a very good design, these rubber well nuts. In fact, Harley Davidson still uses them today on their bikes for various parts of the bike. And these are the same nuts that Harley would have used back on this fairing back in the 80s and the 90s, and they still use them today. They just work really, really well. And if for some reason one won't tighten up, then just get your hand behind there and hold the well nut a little bit, stop it from spinning, and then everything will come together for you. Now that this is actually attached, you just go ahead and peel the plastic off from the front and the back, and voila, the headlight's installed. I mean, the windshield's installed. Now that we've installed the lower brackets, we could move the fairing a little bit. Now we can go ahead and tighten up these bolts right here. We can tighten up the main fairing bolts, and we can also tighten up this bolt down here. And we're good to go, and the fairing's completely installed, along with the inner brackets that we talked about earlier. We want to make sure that we've got clearance between our exhaust system and the lower fairing. You never want anything touching anywhere. Go ahead and reinstall your speedo cable tab and brake line tab right here under the triple tree. And should we install the headlight? Yeah. So we've supplied you with this fairing kit, we've supplied you with an LED headlight. Okay, and what we want you to do is, on your original headlight, okay, so this is our original headlight that we took off the bike.
Yes.
Here's the plug from the original headlight. We want to go ahead and cut this right here, and we want to cut this plug off this light here, and we want to solder those wires onto this plug here. Now, the black is going to be ground, and the yellow and white is going to be your high-low beam. Over here, the green is the ground, and the white and the red are your high-low beam. So we're going to go ahead and join those to that, and then we can install the headlight. Okay? Before we install the headlight though, we need to install this piece of the headlight bucket, which is just, the 2 screws are already in here, you just slide them in on these slots, then you put the spring that's back here, and you attach the spring, which he's going to do right now with a little hook. Can you see that? There we go. Okay, now this is attached. Now we can install the headlight. And you want to get the bottom, see it's got written right on the headlight here, it says top. That's the way we want to install it, like that. So we'll just push the wires through here. See it? And if you notice, this little raised part here fits in the slot here, as well as over here. See that? It's sitting in there correctly now. Now you take this part, install this. Right here, you put the little screws in here that come with the packets. Okay, headlight is now installed. And in the back there, as we showed you earlier, you just plug the headlight in, you know. It's a no-brainer. Alright, the next thing we want to do is put the beauty ring that goes over the headlight. And remember that slot that we showed you earlier that's on the top of the bucket up here? We've got to get our little clip up in there. This is the clip that we showed you earlier that goes in the beauty ring over the headlight, and it just snaps in there. And you want to put this at the very top, lined up with this hole here, because that's directly opposite the bottom screw. That's gonna, this clip, this part of the clip right here is gonna sneak it. There's a little slot up here, we're gonna get that up in there, and then once we get that in there, we put the little screw right into this green threaded part right in here where my finger is. You'll notice that he just bent this slightly down. It just makes it easier to get that clip up into that slot that's up in there, that's right on the other side of this edge. There's a little slot in there. We just bend that down just a tad, just so we can get to it easier. Can you see that? That little slot up in there? Okay. Then go ahead and get that in. Now that we've got the clip just popped in up there, then we go down to the bottom here. Give me that flashlight. And you can see straight through this hole in the beauty ring that it lines up with the hole on the headlight bucket. And this screw is supplied with the stuff from Harley that we buy for you to put on your bike. And there you go. Tighten that down, don't kill it, just snug it up. And there it is installed. The whole headlight bucket assembly with the beauty ring, and now we're ready just to put the outer cover on. We're going to go ahead and peel the inside plastic, and I'll leave the outer cover, the outer plastic on. I'll just peel it away from the corners. Don't get your fingerprints on the inside, because once you put it on you can't clean it right. It's a no-brainer. And you'll notice that there's a marking from Clearview down at the bottom. Now, as you can see, we're just going to give it a dry run and see that all the holes line up, which they actually do, which is pretty cool. But before we put this on, we're going to go ahead and put, there's a gasket that goes around the outer edge of this headlight cover, which Harley Davidson did originally on the FXRTs, and here's the gasket. This gasket is obsolete part now. We actually bought every single one of them in the country so we could sell these with our fairings for our customers. And it's just, you got to open it up a little bit. Get it on there. There we go. And just run this all the way around. Okay, we've got the rubber gasket on the headlight bucket. I mean the headlight cover. And like I said earlier, this goes at the bottom. Now when I put this on, see, I'm going to lift that gasket just slightly when I screw that screw down. So it goes underneath of it. And that's it. I'm going to grab the others. It's best to leave them all loose before you, and get them all started before you try to tighten them down at all, because they'll pull you from one side to the other a little bit. And for some reason things that just don't seem to be lining up quite right, or you have an issue, I mean, you can open up the hole on the lens cover just to the next size if you wanted to, but we certainly didn't need to do that here, and because everything seems to be lined up perfect. But just in case if that happened, it would be easy to do. As you can see, the gasket gives a really nice finishing touch to the whole setup here, and we just peel this off and voila, done. We'll go ahead and clean it with Windex. You'll notice that right here, the stainless steel, the perforated stainless steel here is already installed. We do that here before we box it up.